watch and what movies they see, but we don't usually listen on the telephone. And yet, as John Stossel tells us, you may be surprised at what they're hearing on the telephone.
3, 2, 1.
Hello, this is Holly from the High Society News Desk.
On this day, about 500,000 callers will hear this minute-long phone sex message.
I can feel your hot breath against my neck as you take me into your arms.
A writer was paid $25 for the script, then Leslie here is paid to read it with appropriate heavy breathing.
Good?
Okay. Good enough, he says, and on to the next tape. Welcome to the world of telephone sex.
It's French lace. My words is for you today.
Hello, my name's Donna. A live girl will be on to speak to you in just a moment.
To hear today's 2 hot action episodes, press either number 1 or number 2 on your touchtone phone.
For some callers, it's meant big bills. Here a man embezzled to pay for phone sex. For the industry, it's big profits.
We're interested in sex, we're interested in communication, we're interested in money, we're interested in the American dream, and we're achieving it.
Take 2.
I'm a big girl now, but I've always been playful.
Morality groups are horrified.
It is one of the most serious problems in the United States at the present time, mostly because it is legal.
That's being challenged, as you'll see, but for now, telephone sex messages are legal and surprisingly popular.
How much money are you making?
A lot.
More than you make from the magazine?
Yes.
Gloria Leonard is the Alexander Graham Bell of phone sex messages. She publishes High Society magazine. 4 years ago, the magazine installed just one machine with a pre-recorded sexy tape.
The first day it was online, we blew out all of the busy circuits for like a 20-block radius because of the response.
These days, they have a high-tech setup designed to handle 5,000 calls a minute.
It has leveled off to about approximately 500,000 calls a day, and it shows no sign of diminishing.
Today, hundreds of other companies offer dial-it sex in most major cities through special numbers, usually on the 976 exchange. There's even a magazine devoted to it, featuring pictures of the women who supposedly are the ones on the phone. There are gay phone sex lines, mail messages for women to call, party lines, and live lines. Callers pay from 25 cents to sometimes $12 a call. Prices vary by the length of the call and by state. The phone company adds the charges to your monthly bill. Some phone companies are making millions from this. Most refuse to talk to 2020 about their sex-related income, but Washington, D.C.'s Chesapeake and Potomac was more open.
You have a conflict here, in a way. That you say you don't like the sex, but you're making money.
We don't condone obscenities and what would be considered pornographic conversations.
But you make money off of it.
Well, in a sense, certainly we do.
You like that part?
Well, we do like that part, certainly. We like that part because our ratepayers, where we can find new sources of revenues, will benefit from that by the fact that their rates won't go up as often.
That's true, and one reason the phone companies are experimenting with all sorts of recordings for pay. 976 services generate profit. And it's not all sex. There are sports score lines.
Get all the sports news instantly. Dial 976-1313.
Lottery number lines.
Anytime, day or night.
There's dial-a-jokes, dial your horoscope. All are successful, but not nearly as successful as the sex lines. It seems more people call the sex numbers than all other 976 numbers combined. Look at Pacific Bell's internal records. Month after month, adult lines make up about 64% of the billed 976 revenue. Sports phone, the lottery, all the others are way behind. For some people, listening to a recording isn't enough. They want live phone interactions.
I have on a sapphire blue teddy with a garter belt.
K-Funk's service charges $45 per half hour. It's billed to your credit card.
Most of the call is about the guy's lonely, and he just needs somebody he just needs some companionship.
Now, Kay does not exactly resemble the women pictured in the ads.
And if they ask you, well, exactly, what do you look like? What do you tell them?
Oh, well, of course, I tell them I weigh 125 pounds, I'm a 36C, 2435.
But that's not true.
Right. So what? I am anything he wants me to be. If he wants me to be cultured and talk about, world events, whatever, that's what I am. If he wants me to be a slut, that's what I am. We're selling fantasies here.
Sexual fantasies may be fine for adults, but lots of kids call 976 phone sex too. Where do they find the numbers?
In the bathrooms of PS8, they had the numbers all over the stalls.
In the bathrooms of a grade school?
And sometimes promoters mail out cards like these in envelopes with so-called warnings that I think are likely to arouse a child's curiosity.
Practically all my friends call, and they say practically all their friends call, so that would mean it would go on.
Why don't you call? Aren't you curious?
Most of the kids at the MLS Education Center in New York say their friends call, but they don't.
Friends told me that it's a recording of people making sounds from when they're,
Yeah, I know. And why do they want to hear that?
I don't know. I guess they think it's funny.
My friends said that they were really funny, so I just wanted to try. I wanted to hear one.
Was it funny?
No.
What was it like?
It was it's like surprising that they would put this, on telephone.
The price of the call isn't featured prominently in many ads, so often kids call without realizing the cost. Here it's $6 a call. A youngster in this family allegedly made more than 3,000 calls in 1 month. The bill was over $8,000. This young man, whose family asked that we not mention their name, shocked his parents by calling phone sex before and after school every day.
I asked my son about it when he came in the house. Have you made these phone calls? No, of course not. And looked at him again and knew he did. I was devastated. I was devastated at the material that was presented to my child without me knowing about it.
The Jones family of Oakland, California was even more shocked. Look at their phone bill, page after page, itemizing 2 months of 976 sex calls totaling over $5,000. It seems 15-year-old Kevin called again and again. His aunt couldn't believe it.
I asked him who was he calling, and he said 976, and I said, well, who's that? Because I never heard of 976. He was bored, and then when he started calling, he got hooked as if he couldn't stop calling.
Now, Pacific Bell has a very forgiving policy on this. First time it happens, says the company, parents who complain don't have to pay. That's the policy, but when Kevin's father called Pac Bell, they didn't tell him about it.
They didn't even tell me they were going to forgive. All they said they wanted was money.
So Clester Jones took on extra jobs. We caught up with him at one of them, cleaning airplanes on the graveyard shift at the local airport.
He went through torture. Come home once a week, tired, sit in the chair, and before he get in the chair, he was asleep.
So you had 2 full-time jobs. That's 16 hours a day, plus a 5-hour wind.
Yeah,
When'd you sleep?
Most of the time I slept at work.
During the dispute over the bill, Pac Bell cut off his phone service. Now the company says it's all a mistake and they've given him a refund. Refunds sparked by 976 complaints could add up to $12 million this year in California alone.
We have a hard enough time bringing up our children without them listening to some pornography on the telephone. And the parents got to suffer.
Don't you feel bad that you are exposing these kids to phone sex at 8 years old?
I think if a very young child called, say somewhere between 6 and 10 or so, I don't think that they would understand 60 seconds of dialogue on a subject that they knew little or nothing about. And let's face it, our sexuality is something they're going to have to deal with. It's not the end of the world if they hear some hot, sexy woman on the phone.
To discourage kids from calling, some phone companies now require warnings like this.
If you're under 18 years of age, you must hang up now.
Written warnings didn't work at government agencies like the Pentagon and big companies like ABC, where employees ran up big 976 bills. They installed blocking systems. But for parents, that's not easy, at least not yet.
Why can't you give us parents some way of cutting off these 976 calls?
We are working on that with the Public Service Commission to offer a blocking service, which in effect would prohibit you from calling 976, and the fee would be a very nominal fee, maybe $1, $1.25 a month.
Why should we have to pay a fee? I don't want these lines in my house.
Well, you're the one who is having the problem with people in your home making the calls. We don't feel a responsibility. We should be policing the use of your telephone. It is your responsibility to do that, not ours.
Some say the government should do something.
Congress should be ashamed of themselves on this one, and so should the FCC, because this whole thing is ridiculous. All we have to do is ban it, and that would be constitutional.
That's debatable. Existing law already requires promoters to screen out calls from kids. But in 4 years, only one federal prosecution in Utah has been effective. Now some congressmen want tougher laws. Several are proposing bills like the Telephone Decency Act that would outlaw phone sex altogether. But there's a free speech question here, because what some people consider obscene, other people might call just intimate conversation. Who will decide?
I'm not crazy about magazines like Soldier of Fortune, for example, within whose pages you can order a veritable arsenal. You can get a handgun or a howitzer.
Maybe for the good of the country, we should ban that and ban your phone.
Who's we? Are you going to take the responsibility? Sexuality is a form of expression. Whether it be acceptable or abhorrent in certain circles is not the point. The point is that it is an expression of speech.
We have a multi-million-dollar budget just for lobbying efforts. I mean, we meet these Congress people. We can talk to them. I mean, we have access. We contribute to campaigns. We're not a small business.
But what if dial-up porn is outlawed? What then?
Then, if there are no more sex lines, we will do a horoscope line or a sports line that will feature people moaning and groaning. We will not be stopped.
That remains to be seen. But for now, in most places, phone sex is still available. So maybe it's something you parents should talk to the kids about. With luck, their common sense will win out.
I don't see what people get out of it. I thought it was pretty stupid. You just call up, you hear this lady, so what?
What a wonderful attitude that is, you know. Although my feeling is that children should be kept from that. But if adults want to pay for that, I can't imagine.
There sure seem to be a lot of adults who want to call. People, I guess, want this.
A lot of lonely people out there.
But you can do things to protect the kids. These devices, for example, you can buy them. This one replaces the dialer on your telephone and screens out 976 calls. This one just attaches to the phone line, does the same thing.
Yeah.
But they cost $100.
And a child old enough to be doing that and know what he's doing
might
could
disconnect
just pull that out and connect the other.
Maybe it'd be easier if you could just police your kids.
Yeah.
Or if the phone company made it possible.
Yeah. Thank you, John.
Thanks.
Well, later, meet